Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to take a closer look at the reign of King Jehoshaphat.
It's a fascinating period in Judah's history.
It really is full of, well, you've got faith, you've got tough choices, unexpected turns. I mean, we're talking about a king who took a stand against pagan practices, faced down huge armies.
And made alliances that had some pretty long-lasting consequences.
Exactly. So our mission today, if you choose to accept it, is to go beyond just the what happened during Jehoshaphat's reign. We want to understand the why.
What does his story tell us about leadership, about faith, about the choices we make that, kind of echo through history?
To do that, we're going straight to the source.
2 Chronicles chapters 19 through 21.
And let me tell you, this is not your average history lesson.
Not at all.
Jehoshaphat's story. It's got drama, it's got intrigue.
Almost like a political thriller, but with infinitely higher stakes.
Right. Okay, so one of the things that really struck me is how Jehoshaphat was all about reform from the very beginning.
Absolutely. He wasn't content with just maintaining the status quo. He wanted to set things right in Judah, both religiously and in terms of their judicial system.
Yeah, he really wanted to make his mark. One of the first things he does is tackle these pagan influences.
Right, we're talking about the removal of the Asheroth.
The what?
The Asheroth. They were these symbols of worship kind of tied to these fertility goddesses.
Oh.
Really significant because it was like he was drawing a line in the sand, declaring Judah's loyalty to Yahweh.
It makes you think about the tough calls leaders have to make, even back then. I mean, challenging those deeply held beliefs, that takes guts.
It does make you wonder about the compromises people are asked to make today.
Absolutely. Where do we draw the line? And it wasn't just symbolism for Jehoshaphat either. This guy was serious about justice.
Oh, absolutely. He set up this whole system of judges, strategically placed them in fortified cities across Judah.
So like a whole network.
Yeah, you could say that. But here's where it gets interesting. The instructions he gave to these judges, super revealing.
Really? Like what?
Well, he basically tells them, look, you're not just answerable to me, okay? You answer to a higher power.
Wow.
He stresses impartiality, emphasizing that they're judging not for humans, but for God.
He was really establishing a justice system that was rooted in divine accountability.
Exactly. And to really hammer home the point, he reminds them to fear God's judgment above all else and to avoid even the appearance of corruption.
No bribes, no favor.
It's just straight up justice, truth, and integrity.
You can really see how he was setting the tone for his entire kingdom right from the start.
A powerful reminder that true leadership is about using your power to uphold what's right, even when it's hard.
And for Jehoshaphat, that commitment to righteousness, it was about to be tested big time. Because a massive army shows up on his doorstep.
Oh, yeah. We're not talking about a small raiding party here.
Yeah.
This was a coalition from Moab, Ammon, even some of the Meunites.
And they were not coming in peace.
Not even a little bit.
Can you imagine the pressure? You spend years reforming your kingdom. You finally get things on track. Bam, existential threat.
It's a leader's worst nightmare. But here's where we see Jehoshaphat's true character.
Okay, what does he do?
He's afraid the text doesn't hide that.
Mm.
But he doesn't panic. He doesn't go totally rogue. He turns to God.
Like you do.
Like you do. And it's not a quiet little prayer in his chambers. We're talking national fast, a collective cry for help.
So everyone knew things were bad.
They did. People came from all over Judah to seek God's guidance and protection. That's the kind of leader that inspires people, the kind that acknowledges fear, but leads with faith.
I like that.
And his prayer. Now, that's something to pay attention to. It's not just a list of demands. Jehoshaphat starts by acknowledging God's power.
Makes sense.
Reminding everyone that God is in control, not these invading armies. He even recounts God's faithfulness to Israel in the past. It's like he's saying, look, you've rescued us before. We're trusting you to do it again.
Powerful stuff.
And what happens next? Oh, it's remarkable. Faith meets history, and the result is not what you'd expect at all.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So God speaks to Judah, right? Through the prophet Jehaziel. And his message is crystal clear. This battle, it's not yours, it's God's.
Whoa.
He tells Jehoshaphat, don't fight. Just get your people in position, stand firm, and watch me work.
Talk about a test of faith. I mean, you're facing this huge army, and you're told, don't even lift a sword, just trust. That's something else.
It really makes you think about those moments in your own life, right? When you're called on to just surrender control, to trust in something bigger than yourself. even when it seems impossible.
It's a tough thing to do. So what happens? Does Jehoshaphat listen?
He does. He puts his trust in God, and the results are unbelievable.
Okay, hit me with this.
Instead of attacking the enemy army, they self-destruct. Chronicles describes how the Ammonites and the Moabites, they turn on their allies, the guys from Mount Seir, completely wipe them out. Then get this, they turn on each other. Total chaos until there's no one left standing.
So God used their own issues, their own conflicts to defeat them.
It's like a built-in self-destruct button.
Wow. There's a lesson in there somewhere.
Big time. About the dangers of division, how internal struggles can undermine even the strongest force. Reminds us that unity, having a shared purpose, those are essential.
Can't argue with that. So Jehoshaphat wins, right? Big victory. What happens next?
Oh, it's a decisive victory. Strengthens Jehoshaphat's faith, cements his reputation as a leader who, walks the walk. Imagine those victory celebrations, the relief, the gratitude.
They probably had a parade.
They spent 3 days just collecting the spoils of war. That's how huge this victory was. But as we know, life has twists and turns. And for Jehoshaphat, even after all this, things get a little complicated.
What do you mean?
Well, this period of peace and prosperity, it's followed by some decisions that, well, they cast a bit of a shadow.
Oh, no. What did he do?
That's like a classic story, right? A leader starts strong, totally committed to doing the right thing, then boom, they make choices that just contradict everything they've built.
It's a good thing we're all human, right?
Right. It reminds us that even the best leaders, they make mistakes. And those mistakes, they have consequences.
So what happened with Jehoshaphat?
He made some alliances, and let's just say they weren't exactly well advised.
Like teaming up with the wrong crowd.
Exactly. He decides to join forces with King Ahaziah of Israel.
Haziah. Didn't he have a reputation?
Not a great one, no. And the sources don't let us forget that.
Right.
Especially the prophet Eliezer. He was not on board with this alliance at all.
What did he say?
He saw right through it, called it a dangerous compromise, completely against God's will. He even connected it to the failure of a shipbuilding venture Jehoshaphat was involved in. Like, see? This is what happens when you team up with wickedness.
He wasn't mincing words, was he?
Nope. It really makes you wonder what Jehoshaphat was thinking. Was it a power play? Did he feel like he had to secure his borders? Or was it something else? A blind spot? We can't know for sure. But we do know the alliance backfired. Big time. And those consequences, well, his son Jehoram really felt them.
Oh no, what happened with Jehoram?
You could say his reign was the opposite of his father's, like a cautionary tale. This is what happens when you abandon the principles that brought you success.
So not a good ruler.
Right from the start. Brutality, instability, you name it. He gets rid of anyone who might challenge him, has his own brothers killed.
Brutal.
And that kind of violence, it doesn't create loyalty, it creates chaos. Rebellions erupt, territories break away. Jehoshaphat had worked so hard to unify the kingdom, and Jehoram, he tears it apart.
It's like all these bad choices, all those compromises, they came back to haunt him.
Exactly. And it wasn't just political turmoil either. Jehoram's reign, also plagued by literal plagues.
You can't make this stuff up.
It's like God was sending a very direct message. This is what happens. You turn away from my ways, you forget the righteousness, the justice that your father fought for, and this is the result.
And the people suffered.
They did. Revolts, plagues, instability. A far cry from the peace and prosperity they'd experienced under Jehoshaphat. It's a stark reminder. Leadership matters. The choices those in power make. They have real-world consequences. Not just for them, but for everyone.
It's interesting, though, how the text describes Jehoram's death.
It's more than interesting, almost anticlimactic,
Yeah, you're right.
Like it just kind of happens.
It does. It says he died with no one's regret.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that speaks volumes.
It really does. You could just tell how far he had fallen. Like in the eyes of his people, he was just done.
It's kind of a sad ending when you think about it. He had this opportunity, right, to build on what his father had accomplished, learn from him, the good and the bad.
You'd think he would have learned.
But instead, he goes in a completely different direction. And it leads to, well, suffering, ultimately, being forgotten.
It's a tough lesson, Leadership, it's not a guarantee. It's a responsibility.
That's a good way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Jehoshaphat and Jehoram, what are the key takeaways? What can we apply to our own lives, even today?
For me, it really boils down to the power of choice.
Yeah.
Every decision, even the small ones, they echo. They have these ripple effects,
It's like that saying, every day we're writing our own history.
Exactly. Jehoshaphat's story, it's like a prime example. Even choices that seem small at the time, they can have a huge impact on us, on the people around us.
And it's not about being perfect, right? Readership, I mean. It's about trying to make choices that are in line with what we believe in, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. And being willing to admit when we mess up, learning from those mistakes, and never underestimating the importance of seeking guidance from something bigger than ourselves.
That's a powerful message. Seek guidance. Be humble. Remember our choices matter.
Well said. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. This was eye-opening.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep searching for those hidden truths, the ones that history has to offer.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.